Jeep broke loose and cartwheeled across the desert. Should I try that one again? So both my brothers were mechanics, had their own shops. One of them had a need for speed, so he had a drag car. And the other brother was more for rock climbing, off-road, going on adventures. So kind of had the best of both worlds. Most of the time I was with my brother in his truck is how we started off going on poker runs. And I think I was about 12, he bought an old 42 Willys Jeep, brought it home, and he was so excited. And I got in that thing and he says, let's go for a ride. And we got off road and he says, okay, your turn, you're driving now. Just keep your hands loose and let it go. So don't steer it. Put me in the Jeep and taught me how to drive, and that's what I drove for a long time. He stripped it down and built it back up, and by the time it was done, it was a really nice looking Jeep, had a 350 in it. He also built 2 other Jeeps for friends of his. That was his everyday driver. We went everywhere in that thing. We went on one of my most memorable road trips in the Jeep. We had an old Army tent trailer that we hooked on the back. We all got in our Jeeps and took off up the coast of Oregon in those Jeeps. 4 adults and 2 teenage kids sleeping in this little teeny tiny tent trailer going up the coast in these 2 old Jeeps. That was a lot of fun. Ended up on our side a few times, but it was fun. One of the fun things about the Jeep is watching my brother rebuild it, basically from the ground up. I was so excited waiting for it to be done. I'd sit out there in the Jeep with him. At the same time he was doing his Jeep, he was rebuilding 2 other Jeeps for friends of ours. One of them was a CJ and CJ5, and he ended up putting a monster motor in that, and that thing was crazy, again with a fiberglass body. So, and then the other friend was another old Willys, and he just wanted to paint it and make it a good runaround Jeep. So unfortunately, he was deer hunting, towing his Jeep behind the truck, and doing about 65 on an old Nevada road, hit some ruts, started fishtailing. About the time his foot came out of the gas, the Jeep broke loose and cartwheeled across the desert. So that was basically the end of that Jeep, the first half of my Jeep life. And then for several years, Jeep just didn't fit in my lifestyle. You know, I had kids, or a daughter, and I was working and doing the whole softball thing and the volleyball thing, and there wasn't time for off-roading. When our daughter started to get to that age where she wanted a car, she wanted a Jeep, which I thought was kind of funny because she really hadn't grown up around a Jeep. But of course, she had heard all the stories and wanted one. So we bought her one. So we put a 3-inch lift on it and 33-inch tires, and off she went. She drove that for about 6 years, and I was jealous the entire time because she had a Jeep and I did not have a Jeep. I kept saying, one of these days, I'm getting a Jeep. I'm getting a Jeep. I'd see a Jeep drive by and I'd be like, I want that Jeep. She came home from college, bought another car to run around town, and her Jeep just sat in the driveway. Just sat. So finally, after about 2 years, I said, Sierra, what are you going to do with that Jeep? She says, you know, Mom, I really don't want it anymore. Every time I drive it, something goes wrong with it. I hate taking it out. I'm afraid to go anywhere in it. And I said, I want it back. She said, it's yours. So I finally got my Jeep. So that's when I got my TJ. We went to a few Nevada Jeep Club events, and that was a lot of fun, a lot of couples. And one of the women from the Dirty Girls approached me and said, I can tell you really love your Jeep. And I said, I do. I love my Jeep. I'll say it again, my Jeep makes me happy. And she says, we would love to have you join our group. You're exactly the kind of woman that we want to be around. So I joined the Dirty Girls, and it has been so great. It's just a group of women who love their Jeeps. Sometimes I think hubby gets a little envious because I get to go without him and do my thing. We actually will help them, teach them how to drive a trail. And then there's just camaraderie of, hey, let's have a barbecue this weekend and talk about our Jeeps and talk about life. So my husband and I compromise now. If it's a Nevada Jeep Club run or a Wild West Jeep Club run or a Battleborn Jeep Club run, he gets to drive. But if it's a Dirty Girl event, I get to drive. one of the Dirty Girl runs that we went on. It was kind of fun. It was actually a photo shoot slash run. So we did our photo shoot, and my husband decided he wanted to go, which was fine. And there were other hubbies there. And they all stood back and watched us be stars on our Jeeps through the photo shoot. And then we hit the trail. So we're on this particular trail, and it was pretty rocky and bumpy. And my husband's over in the passenger seat. I'm driving, and he kept kind of being, oh, oh, every time I'd hit a bump or hit a rock. And then he started interjecting a little bit. You know, there's a rock coming up. Be careful. Go to the left. Now try to balance on those. So about halfway through the run, I'd kind of had enough, and I looked over at him and I said, enough. I'm driving. Either get out and walk or be quiet. This is my turn to drive. So he was quiet the rest of the trip.